All right, we'll go 3, 2, and 1. Welcome back to another episode of Persuasion by the Pint. I'm Jonathan Taylor, along with
Sean McCool.
Sean. We got a lot of stuff. I mean, you're just gonna you got a what I call a smorgasbord of things to talk about today.
Yeah, we're going to talk a little bit about. Oh, by the way, Happy Veterans Day today.
That's right. Oh yeah, is that today or tomorrow? I can't.
It's observed today. It's actually tomorrow. So I don't know.
Yeah, okay.
Like why you need 2 days, but because the government need to be off for a day, so that's why it's observed on Friday.
Oh, that's great.
I think
that's
the actual true. Veterans Day is on.
That's
Saturday.
Right. They need a 3-day weekend for sure.
Exactly. They don't get enough time off. That's one thing I do miss about the military. You got a lot of days off.
Oh yeah. Yeah, there was like a holiday. I mean, it was you're guaranteed a holiday every month.
We had after you were there for a little while, you had 30 days leave a year.
Yeah, like
absolutely. Pretty good stuff. Miss those days. So we're going to talk about email. I had a little trick about email that I'd kind of just forgotten.
Mm-hmm.
And Bill Mueller's email today, our friend Bill reminded me of it. So we'll talk about that little technique and hack that I think most people forget about based on the emails I read.
Mm-hmm.
We'll talk a little bit about single option aversion. We'll talk about Hotelling's model of spatial competition. I mean, this is edge of your seat stuff right here. We'll talk about how small brands can benefit from large brands. How you can play off of that. And then we'll talk about the 7 parts of decision making. Did you know there's 7 steps a person needs to go through to make a decision?
Really?
Yeah.
Then I must be missing something.
Yeah. A little bit more involved than most marketers probably realize. So, and we got some cool stats on how to increase sales and things like that that I dug around for. It took me about an hour to find based on a Instagram video I saw. And I was like, is that true? Is that really true? And I dug and I finally found where I think the idea came from.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll talk about that. But first,
see, that's the kind of in-depth research you get on this show. I mean,
once a quarter we go deep.
Yeah, I mean, we just cover everything, and
it was just like a riddle that I needed the answer to. You know, because they didn't quote a source or anything, and there was a lot of comments like, "Oh, that's cool," and I'm like, "Where's the proof? I need some proof."
Yeah, that's right.
I had to go find it myself. The copywriter side of me kicked in, and I was like,
"Put on your investigation, your research hat."
Yeah,
you went to work on it, and all right,
we're going to be revealing it. So, well, what beverage do you have over there?
Yeah, I mean, that's about the only contribution I have, Sean, today is just bringing
a book cover. What you want to talk about?
I get a book cover and a beer.
That's awesome.
That'll do. So this one is, I'm excited. This one's from, we've had some of these boulevards. So I'm going to pull up I'm going to show this real quick. The Boulevard Brewing Company. I really love these. They've got these series, the bourbon, these bourbon barrel series. So I've had, going up to the top, we've had the let's see, the whiskey. I think we had the whiskey barrel stout on here before. I know I've had the more s'more, the churro grande, and then the proper pour. I do remember that one. So today, this one is called a Rested Reserve.
Okay.
Rested Reserve. It is a double-aged wheated imperial stout, aged for over a year in both wheated bourbon barrels and a 12-year rye. In 12-year rye whiskey barrels.
Wow.
It's here just in time for the season of sharing, and sharing is caring. 12% ABV. So, Sean, I am so glad that you brought the content today on the show.
All right.
I did not realize that it was 12%. I'm just finding that out.
Anytime it has the word imperial.
I guess. Shut up, Siri.
Could you try again?
Okay, Siri needs to shut up over here. All right, there we go.
Mr. Siri.
Yeah, really. I'm not sure where the male voice came from. I did the update last week, Sean, to the new iOS. So I don't know if that changed. He's now a male.
I guess everybody's changing, right? Probably sponsored by Bud Light too.
Exactly.
Oh, we should talk about that too. About did you see Dana White's press conference on Bud Light?
Yeah, because is he on some backlash on the thing?
He had a little backlash, yeah.
Okay.
A little bit.
Yeah, I'd be interested to know his response.
Yeah, he's like
he's going to
never really
embrace.
gave a reason why, but he did not back down one bit.
No, I didn't think
he's
so.
Like, I was going to get money from anybody, like, because some people were calling him a sellout. He's like, every deal's a sellout. That's the point.
Yeah.
So I thought, and I haven't heard anybody say this, but I was thinking as I was watching it, I was like, you know what the spin on it would be? We did this deal to take back the brand. Give it back to the people.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
That would have been a good line.
Yeah.
Like, we want to recapture what Bud Light's about. That's why we did this deal.
Yeah.
That would have sold.
Yeah. I think so.
So maybe
we're trying to help them. We're giving it back to the people they originally intended it for, right? I mean,
yes. Yeah, we're here to save this brand.
Yeah.
So, I'll text him after the show and we'll talk about it.
You should be his PR guy, man. I mean, come on.
So I've got on my end, I have got a from Lone Pint Brewery. I've got an El Cuero Stout. Couldn't find any. It's not on their site, but it's this one here. It's on Instagram. So it's this one here.
El Cuero.
El Cuero. I don't know what's going on in this can, but it's a white stout. It is 8.2% alcohol. And I love the tagline for Lone Pint Brewery. Let's see if it's on their thing. Nope, doesn't say here. On the can, it says across the top of the can, it says, "Now it's okay to drink alone." Because it's Lone Pint Brewery.
Yeah, right. I get it.
So that's very cool. Well, it was clever. Sometimes clever works.
Yep. Sometimes it works. It's timing is everything, unlike what I just did. Like the rim shot like 5 seconds after.
Yeah, that's all right.
Yeah. So hey, I'm excited, man. Cheers. This is the time of year that the beers get really good.
Yeah.
So
apparently this is what white looks like. White stout.
I saw some really good ones that I'm going to probably save until December, Sean, today. I mean, when I was picking this one out, the peppermint porters and the some of the others, I felt like it was too soon. So I went with this one.
Yeah. I need to find a cranberry stuffing stout or something, right? Thanksgiving's coming up.
That's right.
We got one. Cranberry, or there's already a lot of pecan pie. There's
yeah, for sure.
In those.
Yep.
Somebody needs to do like a sweet potato souffle stout.
Ooh.
That would be
sweet potato souffle stout.
A little marshmallow, a little cinnamon, a little brown sugar.
Yeah, I could see that. I could see that. Yeah.
Definitely works. So. All right, well, let's jump in. Hey, and for our viewers, anybody that watches, after the 3 people that watch on YouTube, check out our fancy background that we just put on the show this time. Got a little pour in the background going on. So,
isn't that awesome? That's very cool.
It's pretty fancy. Pretty fancy. And that's a free stock image from Unsplash. So
Unsplash.
Great place to get pretty good graphics for free. So
yeah, StreamYard's coming out. It seems like they're always updating things. New features. I really like this platform.
I just wish the main window was a little bigger.
Yeah, I do too. Yep.
I know there's a way you can do the whiteboard or the layout thing, but I just haven't played around with it enough to really figure it out. But that's the only thing. And I don't love I feel like when we do 2 people, it's just too close. with that.
Yeah, I do too. Yeah, it's just too close up there. And then when you're showing, like when I was at the show last week in my doing my Composites Weekly podcast, when I would show I wish they had like an intermediate or a smaller picture of a company's website, or if you're demonstrating a picture or something, because once you share that, it's like, poof, it goes up.
Yeah, I think that's where you can edit the layout now. We just haven't played around with it enough. But
yeah.
hey, look at there. We got, they just left. We had one viewer and they left. Dang it.
Cough. You guys still talking about beer? And come back.
Yeah, we'll be back in 5 minutes.
All right, we got to do a quick rating.
We are starting early today, so throwing people off.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah. So rating, I'm going to give mine. It's not great. It's, I don't know. There's no set flavor I was expecting. It leans a little bit. I don't know what that taste is, but it tastes familiar. I don't know. I'm just going to give it a 3-3.
3-3. Oh, okay.
Middle of the road.
Yeah.
It's almost got, I can't place that taste. I'm so used to like these, when you see a can like this, I'm used to like it has very certain flavors. This one doesn't really have that.
Yeah.
So,
I'm probably going to go in that 3 range. This one's really strong.
A little syrupy.
Yeah, a little syrupy. So, I'm going to go about, it's kind of flat too. So, I'm probably going to go like a 3-1 on this one.
Okay.
So 3-1. Slow
day at the office.
Yeah.
All right. Happens. All right.
Sorry, Boulevard.
Can't have a 5 every day.
That's right.
Then nothing would be a 5. So
that's right.
A little philosophy there for you on the show today. All right. So let's, you want to show off your little book there before you start drinking your 12%?
I'll show the back of it. All right. So let me, you got
to describe it for our listeners,
Okay. So this is like an oldie. So I was reading I was on vacation a couple of weeks ago, or a few weeks ago at Myrtle Beach, Sean. You can't go on vacation without taking some books,
Yeah, and you always you take too many as well. Like, I'm going to read all the time.
That's right. You got like 4 or 5 in a bag. Like, oh yeah, I'll have time.
You get 3 pages read of one.
Exactly. But perfectly described. But I was reading, I took Joe Vitale, his hypnotic writing. I love that book, and we've talked about it on the show in the past, but he references Mr. Fire. He references this book in that, and it's called The Magic Power of Emotional Appeal. Magic Power of Emotional Appeal. And he talked about it. It's a class. This book was published back in the 60s.
Yeah.
So a lot of it's the type, and it's very small print. So it's one of those books where it takes some time to get through. Some good takeaways in it, but the thing that caught my eye the most, Sean, is you don't see books like this, the layout on the cover like this very often anymore. And what I mean by that is everything is like, from a visual standpoint, this is not very attractive.
Right. It's one of the, as Dan Kennedy would have said, it's like the ugly book, like the ugly layout,
the ugly layout.
Busy would be another word for it if you're not watching.
That's right.
Online.
Exactly. But it's almost attractive in a certain way. There's a
you gotta kind of lean in to see what the text says, right?
Yep. That's right.
You can read the Magic Power of Emotional Appeal, but then if you want to read the subhead and what's in the box below that, like there's probably 50 to 75 words a copy on that.
Yes.
Cover.
And what I love about it is they use a lot of social proof. If you go through Cialdini, they're using a lot of the principles of influence.
Before he wrote his book, by the way.
Exactly. But it's using the obviously the
Cialdini got it.
Maybe so. There's a testimonial on the very front cover, which I use this in one of my books, the Selling on the Green book, years ago, putting a quote on the very front. Mm-hmm. A testimonial quote. So underneath the title or the subtitle, they provide a a quote that says, to get through to other people with your personality, your product, or your interest, you have to master the technique of emotional appeal. So notice that they didn't really endorse the book whatsoever at all. They just took a line.
They basically repeated the title almost.
Yeah. Crazy. Yeah. I mean, it's just, so they took this, splashed it right on the front. And then they've got this blue box going here that says, wouldn't you like to learn how to? And then it says, make others listen to you, rid yourself of money and business worries, get people to remember and like you, secure a better, higher paying job, improve your relations with the opposite sex. I mean, so they're throwing a whole lot of things in there, and they're doing it in the form of a question. And that's really powerful. That's something that you don't see very often on a book cover. You see a lot of, typically you'll see a title, subtitle, what you intend to get out of it, but rarely do you see them asking questions that kind of generate that, that curiosity factor, so to speak. So I love that.
Dude, I tell you what, you got a deal, because I'm looking online here right now at, different copies from different places, eBay, Books, Amazon. They're all going for $150.
Yeah.
So I don't know how you got such a good deal, but
I snagged this for about $30. It's the paper book copy. The author is a guy named Roy Garn. Roy Garn, never heard of him before. I heard about this on from Joe Vitale.
Yeah, it's interesting. There's a lot of other book covers too. Like the original book cover was definitely not like that. So it's interesting.
So let me blow this up, Sean, so our listeners can, our massive audience on the screen can see. Let's see here. Present. All right, there we go.
Okay, there you go. Yep.
So let's see here. So you can see.
I like the top section too. The proof up there.
Yes. Yeah, I noticed that too.
$4.95 bestseller, selection of 6 national book clubs.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
It's kind of cool.
So just a lesson when it comes to putting together. Now, I thought of that. This wouldn't work for every book, but if you're doing a book, I mean, it looks busy. I mean, most people say, well, that's too busy. Well, to me, it's like it really builds interest right away. I mean, one thing that, what's that?
A lot of people would put that on the back.
Yeah, exactly.
What's on the back? More stuff.
One thing I might add, Sean, would have been and this is like the Ben Settle, Bob Bly version in the copywriting world, is to put like, would you like to learn how to? And then for some of these questions, page such as, whatever page, 42, page 160, page this, and where they can learn more. So,
really cool.
Yeah. So just a little lesson there. I found it very, very attractive and, one of those covers that really generates a lot of curiosity and interest. So
it's also primary colors. It's red and blue and yellow.
Yep.
So it just really pops. Off the screen.
It does.
So that's kind of cool.
Yep.
All right. Well, let's I'll start with a little email hack first. That's a quick, easy win for our listeners in case they're busy and want to go do something else. They feel like they got their money's worth for the day. So I got an email from Bill Mueller today, and he's telling his story like he always does in the beginning.
Right.
And right in the middle of the email, he put my name in there.
Ooh.
I know that's not a big deal.
Yeah.
But I so often forget to do that when I'm writing emails for myself or for people, like to put the name field down somewhere in the middle of the email or near the end of the email.
Yes.
To really call attention, because you're reading an email and you kind of forget that it's to you. You know,
right.
And it kind of pulls you back in, and it either startles you or makes you feel good, or like it was kind of interesting. It just had a real big impact.
Yeah.
And I don't get very many emails where people do that. Everybody does, puts it at the beginning,
Of course. Yeah.
but it's very rare that I see people put the name field anywhere else.
You almost don't expect it to
Yeah.
see it anywhere else.
And it just reminds you that it's to you,
sure.
even though
Yeah.
it's not. It just,
Right.
it really made me aware, like, oh, I should be doing that more often. Not every email, but
Yeah.
certainly more often. I remember back when Infusionsoft,
Oh yeah.
Keep started, like they were showing classes on how you could, like, send questionnaires to your list and it would collect the data, and you could just, like, fill in all the different pieces and, like, really personalize the emails.
Yeah.
Nobody does that.
No.
Nobody's using that.
Right.
There was one guy, what was his name? He did the was it Jerome something? He did Learn to Play Piano by Ear or something like that. He had a huge site. And he would do that. He would, when they signed up, he'd find out which instrument, because he ended up doing all kinds of instruments. So he'd find out what instrument they were, what city they were in. And then he would write his emails with all those fields filled in.
Right.
So that it felt really personal.
Yeah.
And we have all this technology to capture fields, and I bet 1 out of 1,000 or 1 out of 100,000 people who send emails is using that power.
Of course. Yeah. I mean, and I don't know why not? I mean, it's not like it's just new. It's been around for a long time.
Yeah.
I mean, but
it's been around pretty much as long as email and, the name field.
Yeah.
You just have to collect it. But I mean, a lot of that stuff you get with, especially your buyers, because you have their city, you have their, you know what product they bought, their name, but most of the time we don't do a very good job as copywriters or marketers, I think, of really customizing those emails.
Yeah.
So that's
and that lesson goes back to the I'll go back to the lesson from, I think it's from How to Win Friends and Influence People. It's like the most important word in the English language is a person's own name. So you should be using it every chance you get. I mean, you don't want to overdo it, obviously in an email, but just understanding that's the most important word to a person that you're writing to, or that audience that you're writing to, is their own name.
You don't want to overuse it, just like you wouldn't want to in conversation, because then it gets weird.
Yeah.
But every once in a while, especially if you're doing sales presentation, every once in a while to bring their name to kind of get their attention back, especially if you're like in a boardroom or something like that, and you see somebody wandering. It's a great place to use their name and bring them back in.
Absolutely.
So yeah, use those custom fields in your emails more often than just the beginning.
Yep. Yeah.
All right. So another thing I saw on the Instagrams or the TikToks, I don't know which one it was. They all look alike now. There was this from a marketing company, and they had this thing. It said, if you see a Coke machine on a campus and there's one Coke machine, it might do, 50 sales or 100 sales a day. But what would happen if you put a Pepsi machine next to it? You'd expect 50-50 or 60-40. And then it said, in fact, you'd get 100 sales per machine. Sales would actually double. And I was like, that sounds interesting.
Yeah.
And then at the end, I'll come back to why they said that, because I think they're right. Because they did say why, but they didn't ever give any proof.
Okay, so let's back up again. So we start out with one Coke machine, right?
Right.
And it's getting how much? It's
getting 100 sales a day.
100 sales a day. Okay.
Yep. So then we roll in a Pepsi machine right next to it.
And then it's going to get, that's going to make each one get, so not only are you going to get 100 sales from the Coke, but you're also going to get 100 sales from the Pepsi machine as well.
Yeah, if not more. I can't remember exactly what the numbers were. But yeah, they were saying that it actually increases sales for both machines if you put two machines together.
Interesting. Even though most people like Coke over Pepsi, right?
Yeah.
That's what we assume.
It does need to be, from what I can probably tell, it needs to be competing brands. It can't be the same brand. Like you couldn't put 2 Coke machines and get the same effect.
Okay.
So there's a hint.
Well, that explains a lot. I mean, you see like restaurants open like in the same, how that goes. They always open in the same
Home Depot
vicinity.
and Lowe's are across the street, Walgreens and CVS, right? Yeah. So that's actually something I mentioned earlier. That's called Hotelling's model of spatial competition.
Mm-hmm.
When the same kind of stores put the stores on the opposite corners at an intersection, or even kind of the same corner.
Yeah.
That's called Hotelling's model of spatial competition. And the idea is you want to put your store where the most traffic for customers is.
Of course. Yeah.
You don't want the customer to have to go out of the way, and everybody wants to be in that center location. So, wherever the McDonald's is, or the exception of places like Chick-fil-A, they tend to be a little further off, but their brand is so strong that they'll still pull.
Yeah.
But this is a little bit different. The Coke machine thing is a little bit different. It's actually called single option aversion.
Okay.
So here's the study I found that I think they used to come up with this little story, because I couldn't find one about Coke machines and Pepsi machines, but I did find this study from a while back. Let me find, where is it at? There it is. It's in an article called "The Paradox of Choice." I'll put this on the screen so you can see it. It says, if you've ever visited the snack aisle in the supermarket, you've probably had the experience to be taken aback when you look at the options laid out in front of you, cereal aisle, all those kind of things. The more choices you have, the harder it gets to make a decision. However, when you come back down, so that's choice overload, which can lead to decision fatigue, which we'll get into the steps of decision making. But here's something else. Here's about when you have choices. So they did a study, and they split participants into 3 groups. Each one was offered this is an old study, opportunity to buy a new DVD player.
Okay.
The first group, so 1/3, was given the chance to buy a Sony DVD player, nothing else. The second group could only buy a Philips DVD player and nothing else. And the third could buy either of the 2. So they had to choose at least one. So when presented with a single choice, the single Coke machine, right, only 9 or 10% of the people bought a DVD player. The third group that had the choice between the 2, 32% bought.
Okay. So
that's a 3 times increase in overall sales.
Right.
32 and 34%, Sony and Philips.
Mm-hmm.
So what that means is people, when they had one choice, and this is what it says at the end of the Instagram video, when people have one choice, they have to decide whether or not to buy. Do I want a Coke or not?
Correct.
Do I want a drink or not? When there's 2 options, it's do I want a Coke or a Pepsi?
Yes.
Right. So it goes from buying or not buying to buying one or the other.
Yeah. I mean, you got them thinking past the sale already. I mean, there you go. Yeah. They're already thinking past the sale to the which one.
Yep, exactly. So this is where I've said before, like when you're in a restaurant and the waiter comes up and says, "Would you like dessert?" That's a yes or no question.
Yeah.
It's like, no, I don't want dessert. But if the same waiter or server or whatever they're called today,
yeah,
I don't want to be canceled again, but like whatever they're called today, like if you came up to the table and you said, "Would you like your dessert here or to go?"
To go, yes, yeah, absolutely.
Then it's like, to go,
mm-hmm.
And they would sell, according to this, they'd sell 200 to 300% more.
A lot more.
Desserts.
Yeah, there you go.
Because most people aren't going to think, "Oh yeah, I could just take it to go."
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's so good. Everyone always asks the question, do we have room for dessert? I mean, that's just, and that's a terrible question. Think about that. That's a terrible question after you've just eaten a meal. Do you have room for dessert? Well, That's not, yeah. Most people are going to say no because you're almost insinuating that, hey, you still got room in there. I mean, you just finished off a meal.
Especially
you got
when
room.
somebody just asked for a box for their main meal, right?
Yeah, that's a terrible question.
It's like, oh, well, since you're taking half a sandwich home, would you like your dessert here to go?
Exactly. Absolutely.
Would you like me to put the dessert in the same box?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's a great idea.
Yeah.
Or whatever. Like, so many other ways, you could do that. So the point is here, you want to give people a choice, but not too many choices. Because check this out. In that same article later on, it said, this blew my mind. They were talking about, okay, so how many options should you offer? And obviously it depends on your market.
How many are too many?
Blah, blah, blah. Yeah. So get this. Where's that stat at? All right. I can't find it, but I remember it. Oh, there it is. So check this out. One example of a brand navigating the challenge posed by the decision-making timeline is Procter & Gamble. The brand reduced the number of SKUs for their Head & Shoulders shampoos from 26. Why do you need 26 versions of Head & Shoulders? From 26 to 15. And it increased sales by 10%.
Wow. Say it again.
So they had 26. Procter & Gamble had 26 versions of Head & Shoulders.
Okay.
Which is too many.
Way too many. Yeah.
It's like crushed in toothpaste. It's too many.
Right.
So they reduced to 15, which I think is still too many.
Yeah.
But it made the brand saw 10% increase in sales by reducing the number of options.
Right.
I think there's an old study about jelly and something else when they were doing samples and stuff. Like 3 was good, but like 26 was too many. So you got to kind of figure out where you want people to have enough that they feel like they have some authority and some power, but not too many that they get decision fatigue.
Yeah, because they end up doing nothing. You just overload their. I mean, they're just like, I don't even know. This is way too much to think about.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that Procter & Gamble has 26 versions of Head & Shoulders is just ridiculous. That is absurd. I mean, even 15 is too many. I mean, that's just too many. So
yeah.
So that kind of leads us to the 7 steps or parts of decision making. And this kind of, I wasn't looking for this, but it was in this article that I thought it was interesting. So there are 7 parts to the decision making timeline. And as a marketer, you need to kind of know, it's kind of like what we've talked about from Eugene Schwartz with, kind of awareness of where they're at in the journey, how aware, are they product aware, problem aware, all those kind of things. So here are the 7 steps. I'm just going to go through them. We won't break them down too much, but so number 1, they first have to identify this decision to be made. Then they have to gather the relevant information. Then they identify alternative options. Then they have to weigh the evidence. Then they have to make a choice between the alternatives. Then they have to actually take the action and make the purchase. And the 7th one I didn't think of as part of the decision process, but I guess it kind of is, especially on a longer timeline with your brand. The 7th one is reviewing the decision and deciding whether or not you made the right one.
Sure. Yeah.
Right. So if I'm going to be a repeat customer, this is especially important for, e-com brands or, anybody that wants a repeat customer. And I never really thought of that before, that the decision-making process isn't over once they buy. Yeah. It's actually once they use the product that their decision-making process ends.
Right.
That's a big difference.
Yeah.
Then it puts a lot more, I think we all tend to put so much effort into promotion and not enough a lot of times into fulfillment.
Yeah.
Right. Because everybody wants to get the sale. But we've said, repeat sales are where you make your profits and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. It's retention is, is important.
Yeah, big time. So yeah, that's the whole, like, give people choices and you can increase sales by 300%.
Hmm.
Based on the old DVD study there.
Yeah.
So how might you apply that to yours? I would say, like, I was thinking about this for like a membership site. If I give
Hmm.
people 2 levels of membership, now it's
Yeah.
not, do I join the membership or not? It's which level do I join? Do I join the
Right.
gold or the silver?
Sure.
So
Yeah.
something as simple as that could increase sales by, you know,
Yeah.
quite a bit.
Yeah. And you see that most of the products out there that you're like online, if you're choosing a like some kind of digital product or platform or some type of tool that you're going to be using online, most companies, when you go through the process, like if it's an online software or whatever, there's three options. It's this one, and then the higher end. Obviously, you're offering the higher end, and then that a lot of times I'll have the middle one,
Yep.
and
And then they usually multiply that because they usually have a monthly and an annual option
yep,
for
exactly.
each level as
Yeah.
well. So if you
Yeah.
have 3 levels, you've actually got 6 choices.
Right.
So your brain is busy, like, which choice do I want, not whether or not I want it.
Yeah.
So
And a lot of marketers help to simplify the decision process by saying they'll have something that says most popular.
yeah, exactly.
Telling us this is the most popular. So
Yeah, and they actually mentioned that in this article, like when you go on Amazon, the Amazon's choice.
yeah.
Because when you pull up any item in Amazon, there's like 4,000 options,
Right.
like
Right.
literally 4,000 options.
Yeah. It's Amazon recommends or something. What is
Yeah. There's
it?
2
No, what's
different versions. I think there's an Amazon recommends, and then there's an Amazon's choice,
choice? That's right. The
which I
choice is
think
the
is more
one.
like their brand or
Right.
the
Or what?
sponsored
Yeah.
spot.
Yep.
Then I
And
think sometimes there's a bestseller or something like that.
it typically has, if those Amazon choice typically have, I mean, they do. I mean, it's not like they're endorsing just whatever that, you know, I mean, you look at the reviews, they tend to be higher reviews too.
Yeah.
So they're pretty consistent with the recommendation they give with the quality or at least the experience of the customer that they've
Yeah.
had with that
Makes
product.
you wonder which came first, the
Exactly.
recommendation or the reviews.
Exactly.
Like, if you could watch the whole timeline,
Right.
I
Right.
wonder which comes first. And
Yep.
so,
Yeah.
well, let's move on to, so I thought this one was interesting. I just ran across these other studies as I was looking for that main study. But so one thing that I thought was interesting, and I wonder if this could be applied online as well, because this was mainly talking about, retail stores.
Right.
So mom and pop stores against big box stores.
Okay.
And they were actually saying that if you position your mom and pop store near a big box store, like a lot of people think that would be suicide,
Hmm.
but actually it's actually a good strategy if you do your marketing to
Right.
play against the fact that you're local and they're a big box store.
Hmm.
Then you'll actually get more business because there's more traffic, and B, there's a little bit more compassion and heart typically for the smaller
Oh
business.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So, but you
Do
have to play it up in your marketing. You can't just expect it to happen.
right. Right.
So that I thought was interesting. And I wonder if you could kind of artificially create that with like online stuff
Hmm.
where you could say, well, I know you can. You could just say, hey, we're a small, brand. We're getting our
Hmm.
start.
Right.
We know you could go buy a Cliff Bar, but our little bar is, our little nutrition bar is homemade, in our kitchen or whatever you want to say. But like
Sure. Yeah.
something like that, I think
Yeah.
you can, if you position yourself against the big brand,
Hmm.
you're kind of borrowing their credibility because you're putting yourself in the same class. But at the same time, you're tugging on the heartstrings of, hey, help us out.
Absolutely. Local business.
Yep.
Support your local community. Right.
Yeah. I'd say, what was that? Man, it's like 20 years ago when I had my handyman business, when I started that
Hmm.
there in Knoxville, my first flyer was like, I'm a small, hardworking American kid or guy
Mhm.
trying to live the American dream, take care of my family.
Yeah.
Like that's what my flyer said. Where everybody
Yeah.
else's flyer was like,
Yeah.
whatever.
Yep.
Because this is back when we were stuffing before Angie's List, we're stuffing flyers in mailboxes and stuff. So
Right. Absolutely.
and that people would comment on that every time I showed up. They'd be like,
Yeah.
"Yeah, just thought it was nice that you're out there working, and appreciate you showing up on time." So,
Absolutely.
so yeah, so that's that, and then
That's
the
good
last,
marketing.
yeah,
It reminds me, remember Sean, I don't know. I think it's from a Dan Kennedy book with the cartoon with the it's got the big huge box, the big box store that's doing all these promotions and everything, and then the little small store next door that says enter here.
Yep.
This is where you come in.
I like that.
So that's pretty funny. But
yeah,
no,
like,
I agree, man.
Don't be afraid to play off your competition.
That's right. Get the traffic.
That reminded me too of the one where it's like, you see the two barbershops across the street. One says $6 haircuts, and the other one says we fix $6 haircuts.
Yeah, that's perfect. I love that.
It's like, yeah, that's good. All right. So the last one I had is about, should you praise your competition or not? So we've talked a lot of times on this show about the Mac versus PC.
Yeah.
And how good that was. But what does the most recent research say? Is that still true? Is it not true? What do you think? This is from Harvard Business Review.
I'm going to say it works in your best interest to praise your competition.
You are correct.
Yeah.
So they did a study where they took
because I'll give my answer later. I'm interested to hear this because I've used this in the sales world of praising competition. But because it does offer the opportunity to differentiate yourself, even at the same time of praising your competition. But I want to hear what you have to say.
Yeah, you're definitely right on the right track. So they did a study where they brought some consumers in, and they showed them a fictitious tweet, or an X now, or slash. What is it called now?
X.
Is it a slash?
Oh, is that what they call it?
I have no idea. An
expression. Expression. I don't know.
I like that. That's good. So anyway, a fictitious tweet in which Kit Kat, the candy bar Kit Kat, praised Twix and said, "At Twix, competitor or not, congrats on your 54 years in business. Even we can admit Twix are delicious."
Yeah.
Right. Then they showed a control group of consumers a tweet in which Kit Kat said, just referred to its own products, "Start your day off with a tasty treat." So 11 days later, they contacted all the participants and they asked them what kind of candy they had purchased over the last 11 days. Those who had been shown the tweet in which Kit Kat praised Twix were 34% more likely to have purchased a Kit Kat than those in the control.
Wow. Yeah.
So they were able to replicate this study across food, ride sharing, accessories, media, technology industries, and consistently found that consumers showed greater interest in buying from brands that praised their competitors.
Wow.
And largely it was driven by consumers' perception of a brand's warmth.
Yeah.
When a brand praised its competitors, consumers reported feeling that the brand was warmer, that is more thoughtful, kind, and trustworthy.
Yeah. Not cutthroat. Yeah, exactly.
Right. So, yeah. So obviously, this works better for some brands than others. Let's see. It works better with for-profit than nonprofit. Because most people think of for-profit as a little more ruthless anyway.
Of course.
So anything they do that is nice has a bigger effect than a non-profit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nonprofits are supposed to play nice together,
Yeah.
That's expected. So yeah, it's 34% more likely to buy.
Of course, what would go through my head is that I would, what would be if I saw a tweet like that, what would be going through the back of my head would be like, they're probably owned by the same. Are they owned by? They're all owned by Mars or whatever, or
Yeah.
Hershey, or so ultimately they're not. They're not. They're just kind of directing towards another market share within that company, or I guess I don't know,
Yeah.
but
But
that'd be my first thought.
You and I are in sales and marketing, so we think like that. Not most consumers don't think like that.
Yeah, of course.
So,
of course.
I mean, definitely more people are skeptical than ever before,
Sure.
which is another reason this works, is because skepticism is getting higher, and divisiveness is getting higher. So it really stands out when you are nice to your competitors.
Yeah. Well, that's a lesson I've always thought, even, in the world of sales, is never denigrate your competition. There's always something good that you can say about them. So I've always found ways to, if I knew a customer or a potential client was using this particular brand, to say, not to praise them. The key is not to praise them wholly, like to say they're just an amazing company, but to praise them in one area, right?
Right. Yep.
They do this really well,
Right.
but never
you don't want to
say,
go crazy and be like, you just
you don't want to gush. You don't want to just gush about them, but you want to say, you know what, you're out, in this area, they are fantastic. They do just an amazing job. But that gives you and that obviously lays the foundation to say, but here's where here's where I think that you could look elsewhere, or not necessarily elsewhere, but here's where maybe this is an area that could benefit you even greater, without denigrating your competition, to say they may be lacking in other areas. They're good at here, but, maybe not
especially
here.
in a sales role like you're in, Jonathan, like people will test you, right?
Absolutely.
Your buyer's agents, they will test you and be like, hey, what do you think about XYZ?
Mm-hmm.
To see if you're going to talk bad about them, or to see what you have to say about them.
Yeah.
And you got to be ready for that. Be like, oh, I think they make a great, ABC widget, but man,
I actually have a, I don't know who does this. This is kind of a geeky thing to do, but for the longest time I had this composition book of and I would have it, you've seen these composition books, the bind or the spiral bound composition books, and they've got the dividers in there.
Yeah.
And in each section of the composition book, I would, each section would be a competitor section, and I would just have notes of all about the competitors, like, learning about the competition. Because I mean, it's one thing to know the areas you're strong,
right,
but also understanding who your competition is. So I have notes. I just make sections for notes on,
that's smart,
competitors, and just knowing about them.
Yeah, because when you're in sales, people are going to tell you about what else they're looking at.
Oh, absolutely. That's right. And then you would have, I'd have a list of things that they do an amazing job at this, and I respect them for this, but and which I did, in a lot of areas. But I also knew weak spots. I'm going back to knowing your competition strengths and their weaknesses.
Right.
And so you start with their strengths, and then you accentuate those, and then you say, well, they're good at this, but here's a vulnerability that you may not have thought about. So
I think the other thing it does, and I didn't see this in the report here, but I think the other thing it does is it makes people feel like you're very confident. If you're willing to praise someone else, your competition.
Absolutely.
There's a confidence there that is very, very attractive.
Very true. Very true. I think that is a very good quality of any person, and they will think that if you praise your competition, they will know that you're definitely secure in who, in what you represent. But if you start denigrating, or if you start talking down your competition, then you look very weak.
Yep.
Your position is very weak, because I think you look like you're desperate to tear down anyone you can to get the business. And that's a very bad look.
Yep, for sure. So, Yeah, so that's all I got, man, for this episode.
That was good. Great points.
Yeah, there's
Great topics.
some good stuff there. You can apply for if you're online for the Black Friday coming up, and
Absolutely. Yeah.
I will add this: is it just me, or has Black Friday emails and sales been coming a lot earlier this year?
Well, everything's coming earlier. I mean, Christmas is coming earlier. I see Christmas ads now. I mean, already. It's Christmas, like, I mean, are we in November?
We're in the first half
early November. Are we not?
Third of November still, technically.
I see Christmas ads already. I see Christmas trees. I see Santas already on the TV screen, and that is way too early.
I agree.
I'm getting into my own household. My wife wants to put up a Christmas tree already, and I'm like, whoa.
We have a firm
slow down.
We have a firm rule in this house that the Christmas tree does not go up until Thanksgiving night or the day after.
The day after Thanksgiving. Absolutely. It's like, but there are people putting pressure on me. I'm telling you, the pressure's
Thanksgiving's
coming.
early this year, so don't give in.
I'm not giving in.
I think Thanksgiving's like the 22nd or 3rd this year. So
that's right. Yeah.
But early.
It's like, man, we're going to have a lot of Christmas. There's a lot of Christmas going to be going on for a whole month and a half.
By the time it gets here. Don't worry about it. Like,
we don't need to extend it.
Yeah. What's that law? The one that work expands to fill the time allowed. Like Christmas expands to fill the time allowed as well.
Yeah. Exactly. I can see that.
Yeah. I was scrolling through TikTok last night, and this lady's doing this live, and her whole house behind her is decorated for Christmas. I'm like, no. Like,
hold up.
What did you do? Like the day after Halloween, like put your Christmas tree up? It's too much too soon.
Yeah, absolutely.
And if you don't like that, please unsubscribe. You're not in the right place.
We're not branches by any means. We love Christmas.
Love Christmas. Yeah.
But just let some things play out, man. Let some things play out. That's all we're asking. You know?
Get your Black Friday sales or whatever. Like,
yeah.
I've seen some good memes too on Black Friday. It's like my favorite so far has been, hey, I think retailers or whatever. It's like, everybody's got a big screen TV. How about some sales on groceries? I'm like, yep.
That's great. I love that.
That's where we're at.
Did people still do a Black? I mean, is there a little, I guess people from a traditional standpoint, they'll still do the Black Friday thing the day after Thanksgiving, but
yeah, I don't know. I feel like
that's less and less. That's less of a thing.
I think more people are sitting in their PJs and doing it on their laptop or their phone.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know, and that's why we're getting emails so early, because everybody's trying to get in the email box early, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, I've gotten a lot of, some people are already just offering their Black Friday deal.
Yes.
Some people are doing hot list and email. I guess several brands that I have, they've already launched their Black Friday deal. I'm like,
wow.
I mean, that's just, I guess the theory is
getting ahead, they're getting ahead of everybody else, I guess.
Well,
so
if the average consumer has $800 to spend between now and Christmas.
Yeah. Right.
I guess you got to be first in line to get that.
Yep.
So that's what they're trying to do. So yeah, it's a little early for me, but I like brands that just don't even do Black Friday. There's something
I do too
cool about that.
That's why we've always been Apple lovers. They don't do any kind of promotions. There's no special deals. It's rarely. Like, here, this is $5,000. Yeah.
And you'll need to buy 13
you want to finance it or what?
Yeah. There's 3 accessories you'll need to make it work.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. Yeah, exactly.
They're $99 a piece. So. But hey,
and we just we just keep going back to the trough. We just keep, abuse us, and then we come right back.
Well, I got this MacBook Air a couple months ago, and I love it. Like, it's
just a beautiful, beautiful machine. I tell you, there's this thing is.
I'm running an extra monitor on it. I'm using it as my desktop, running an extra monitor.
Yeah,
and I can unplug it, and it will last all day. It's crazy.
It's just you just can't. There's.
And it's whisper.
You just can't compare. Unfortunately, it's just, that's why we keep coming back and spending the money. It's just because it's
Well, they do last a pretty good while. I mean,
they do.
I got 3
I
or 4
tell you,
years out of the last thing.
I've got a MacBook Pro. I think this one was from last year. So it's been a recent one, but it's a workhorse. It's just, the thing is just a workhorse for the amount of computing, editing power that I put it through from podcast and doing all the stuff that I did last week with several, back to back podcasts, and just like on the spot doing video, little video. I do the screen flow with the MacBook on some of those videos, those streaming videos, making some cuts, because people say things during those live interviews that they don't need to say. So I'm like, next day, like clip, upload, this thing, but MacBook, Apple is just incredible.
Yeah.
Performance power is amazing.
Yep. Yeah. I'm sure there's some PC users yelling at us right now, but on their Android phones.
It's like, I saw this video clip I think it was yesterday, where it's like, somebody's like, it's from, I don't know what it's from. It's from some TV show, but the person, she's bringing in her messed up iPhone, and she brings it in, and she's like, the guy's like, okay, what do you use it for? She goes, I just use it for Facebook and texting. And the guy's like, you literally have a machine in the palm of your hand that's more powerful than the computer that put the man on the moon, and that's what you use it for.
Yep.
Oh man,
pretty much all I use mine for.
Yeah.
Well, maps and stuff like that, but it's pretty amazing. I don't get anywhere near the power out of it that I could, for sure.
Yeah.
I know some guys that, man, they do their whole business on their phone. Like,
pretty
guys
much.
in their 30s. Yeah. I mean, they can run their whole business off their phone.
Yeah.
I can't do that.
But the Air, those things, I've had an Air in the past. I love them. They're lightweight, great for just what you need to do, which is, pretty much the basics.
Yep. It works for me. So,
yep.
All right. Well, I guess that's a wrap. That's another episode.
A wrap. So to all of our listeners, thank you for joining us. And, don't, there you go. We got their, persuasionbythepint.com/craft beer for craft beer club. Yeah. Because we're so good about our sponsor there. Yeah. Get the best beer from around the country delivered to your doorstep. persuasionbythepint.com/craft beer.
There we go.
See, we're so good at that. It's a great gift too. Speaking of holiday gifts and Black Friday, they might have a Black Friday sale, Sean. I don't know.
They might.
Who cares?
We need to check that.
Just go buy their beer. Who cares?
Yeah.
All right. Anything else, Sean, before we wrap up?
I was just seeing if they were still in business. They are.
That's great. We're glad. We like to check that out before you go there, but yes, they are still in business. So persuasionbythepint.com/craft beer to get your deal on an assortment of craft beers. You can go monthly. You can go long-term if you want to get a subscription. 12 months. There you go. 3 months, 6 months, 12 months.
Yeah, they're having an early bird sale now until November 17th.
There you go. So take advantage. And you heard it here. Craft beer, persuasionbythepint.com/craft beer. All right. To all of our listeners, you can find us at persuasionbythepint.com. You can find us on all of your podcast platforms, Stitcher Radio, iHeart, Spotify, you name it. Go there, leave us 5 stars, increase our, push us to the top. We're number 2 by some standards in Persuasion podcast. We'd like you to push us to number 1. So we thank you for that, and we'll see you next time.
See ya.